The skill programming language provides functions to allow you to easily write ASCII data to text files by opening a file, writing data to a file, and then closing the file when done. The outFile function is used to open a file for output. The first argument to the outFile function is a string, and is the name of the file to be opened. If the file is opened successfully, then a port to the open file is returned, and nil is returned if the file cannot be opened for writing. The file to be opened can be either an absolute path or a relative path. On the Windows platform, the skill interpreter will automatically convert the /Linux directory separator to a \DOS directory separator, allowing you to easily write platform-independent programs, by always using the /file separator. If you wish to use the \file separator, then you must escape the / with an extra / for the skill interpreter. Be careful with relative path names. If you use a relative path name, then the file will be opened in the first writable directory in the user's skill path, which may or may not be the current working directory. Notice that this user does not have the dot in the current working directory as the first item in the skill path, so the file is opened in the C Palumbo skill directory instead of the current working directory. I generally prepend my file names with a /, which is not treated as a relative path, and will now be written to the PCB editor current working directory, regardless of the user's skill path. The outFile function also accepts a second optional argument that is a string of either W or A, to define the mode of the output file. The W mode is overwrite mode and will overwrite an existing file, while A is append mode, and will append to an existing file if it already exists. The default is to overwrite if the optional second argument is not provided. There are multiple functions for writing data to your open files, with the fprintf function being the most common. The fprintf function is similar to the cfprintf function, and exactly the same as the skillprintf function, except that it accepts an additional argument which is the open file port to write to. The second argument is then the format control string, and then the remaining arguments to define the data to be written to the port. Writing information to an output port is buffered. So notice that even though we have written several lines to our output file, we do not see any information in the file yet. Once enough data has been written to fill the buffer, it will be dumped into a file. If your skill program encounters an error before you close your output file, you may notice that all your data has not been written into the file. The drain function can be used to write out all the characters that are in the output buffer to a port. The drain function accepts one argument, which is the port to be drained. After you are done writing data to a file, you should use the close function which accepts a single argument, which is the port to an open file. The close function will drain the contents of the buffer, and then close the file and free the port. In summary, the skill programming language provides functions to allow you to easily write ASCII data to text files by opening a file, writing data to the file, and then closing the file with the close function when done.